So before you start working on your machine with it up in the air, first thing you're going to want to do is take and put the lockout mechanism on whatever cylinder you have for your lift arm. Here on the tool cat, it's tucked up in here, just held in place by one pin, drops down, goes right there to make sure that you're not going to get squished by anything. So yeah, now I'm going to be showing you how to take off the steel cutting edge. To do that, you're going to need an 1.16" socket and an impact or breaker bar of some kind. Impacts just make it a lot easier. So I'm going to start from this end, work my way that way, and yeah, we'll go through that. Now you'll see there's three nuts I can't quite get to. So what I'm going to do is take and fire up the machine quick. Want to make sure you don't have any loose impediments obviously in here to get caught up by the auger, but I'll do that quick. Just do a quick bump to turn the auger just a tiny bit to get access. Now come out, take a look. No, need a little more. That should be good. Yep, so now you can see. I'll shut this off. Shut the machine back down. Now I can get right to all those nuts and I'll take off. We'll do this one first here. That one's off. Now I'll take this one off. And now, if I get Reed down on this end with me, I'll have him hold up this as I loosen this last one. So now that is somewhat free floating. I'll come over here. I'll just take here, loosen up that last one. Now that comes down. Set that down gently. There we go. That's how you get that bottom cutting edge off. So to start off, I'm going to be taking the 9/16" socket and wrench. There's this one little piece of metal here. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but got one bolt on there. So I'll get the socket on the bolt, reach around with the wrench here. And now that comes off. Take that nut out with you. And now I can pull that bolt out. You'll see here, this little piece of metal. That's what's tucked up under there. That's just keeping any snow from drifting out underneath the curb guard and making it easier to get that in and out. So here I'm going to explain to you how to install the rubber cutting edge kit. So you can see here, I have it all kind of pre-assembled on the table. Consists of 3 different parts plus the bolts. So you got your rubber cutting edge here. Take that out. Lay that right here, and then it has 2 separate metal pieces. I'll take this bolt out so you can get a little better visual of that. So yeah, that's 2 different pieces here. This is the clamping part. This is the part that's going to bolt up to where your old cutting edge was. There are square holes on the bottom side of this. So that's, you're gonna put these carriage bolts that we have in. So those are going to go into those holes, up through the old cutting edge holes, and mount up. And then we'll pre-assemble this second metal onto there, and then shove the rubber up there and show you how that's all done. So kind of start with, I think I'm going to pre-assemble this part for the most part. So we can put all these bolts through. Just makes it easier once we get it up in the air. get the nut started on the back side. And now I'll just go through. And these bolts, you'll want to make sure that the washer is on the bolt head side and not on the nut side. And just continue on with this. These all in here. And these are just finger tightening, not obviously torquing them down. Want those to stay somewhat loose so we can take and still slide the rubber up there. Got that one? Perfect. So yeah, we got that all pre-assembled. So now what I'll do is I'll have Reed grab one carriage bolt and put it in the square on the end of his piece. Take and kind of hand thread it through. Get to there. So yeah, I forgot to mention, when you pre-assemble this, you're going to want to leave this end bolt out because that blocks where the carriage bolt comes through on the back side. So got that back out of there. Now we'll take and lift it up. Kind of got to hook those nuts over the top of the metal there. And take your carriage bolts. And it's still being a pain in the butt for me. So I'm going to step that hammer up. And now I'll take and tap that up into place. Throw the nut on the top there. Now that's on there. That's held up in the air. And now we just go through each one of these and get the nuts put on them before we tighten them up. Yeah, keep installing those carriage bolts. So now you're going to want to take your 3/4 inch socket and your impact and start tightening those up. So I'll come in here, feel my way, make sure it's good and snug, and just work your way on down the line. These ones are going to be a little tricky because of how I got this turned. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sneak that actually through here, break the rules a little bit. There we go. And just keep on going. There. So now that we got this up here, hung, and the carriage bolts all tightened up, now we can take these last two bolts, one on each end, and put them through the hole. That'll be your final bolt. And this is still finger tight at this point. Get her on there good. Now that we got that, now we're going to take this rubber cut edge. You can see it's got slots in it, so it's going to differ from your top cutting edge, top rubber. So I'll give Reed that end. And now we just kind of take and slot it up over each bolt. Takes a little suggestion on a couple of them. But I'm going to actually start on this one end. I'm going to take my trusty 9/16 wrench, 9/16 socket, and an impact. I'm going to start over here. Now it's a little tricky here, but make sure that that's pressed up all the way. Now I'll tighten it up. Just snug that one to start, and we'll kind of work our way part way down. Just make sure everything's still up there, seated real nice. Get that there. Do this one, if I can get my wrench around to it. Do that. Just kind of, re-tap it as you go down, make sure everything's still sitting nice. Come around here, get this middle one. If I can get my socket on it. There we go. Get my wrench off. I'll do this one. Just skipping a few in between to get it all started and seated. Get this one. Now, yeah, just re-tap. Everything's seated nice. Now I'll go down one by one and get all of these. With these, you can keep tightening them. It'll keep squishing the rubber, but the guy kind of feels the right tightness for them. Doesn't obviously need to be too crazy. That one, and now our last one here. Now you should have your installed rubber cutting edge. If you want to take a peek, just make sure everything's generally level. It's not going to be dead center perfect, but as long as you can get it as close to possible there, yeah, and you're good to go. That's how you install the rubber cutting edge. So. With this rubber belting piece that contains the snow, you will notice there's two different pieces I'm holding here. The larger one is going to be for use with your steel cutting edge. This smaller one is going to be for use with your rubber cutting edge. So you'll see with these pieces there is a left and a right hand piece. Let's see there. The left hand piece has the cordage to the outside of the machine, and so does the right hand piece. So you'll just want to make sure that you have that cordage towards the outside of your machine. To demonstrate this, I'm going to be using the one used with the steel cutting edge. So I'm going to go through how to remove and replace this rubber belting piece right down here behind the wheel. You're going to need a 9/16 socket, something to move it, and then a 9/16 wrench. So I'm going to take the impact and socket on the outside here. Just get that nut off. Now I'll do the front one. That nut off. And now there's a little plate that I was going to drop, of course. Pick that up. So yeah, there's this little plate that goes on the inside here. Take that off. And now this rubber, just kind of get these bolts out of here. The holes are snug. So now get that rubber piece out. You got your bolts here. You got that plate. Make sure you keep all that. You're gonna want to take this belting. It's gonna have the cordage in it, more to the outside. So you're gonna take that and take these bolts back, put this on the inside here, line up those holes to the best of your ability. You might need to kind of screw the bolt in to get it through that rubber. Get that through. Now those bolts are all the way through. Now take your plate, put that over the top of those bolts. Shouldn't fall. Now you take your nuts, get those back on there. And now all you're gonna do, take your impact and wrench again and tighten this all back up. You don't need to go crazy with it. It is rubber, it'll squish on you, so just get that snugged up there. Now you'll see it's back in place, keeping any drifting from happening. So that's how you remove and replace this bottom piece. So now we're going to be installing the rubber side skirt. It's going to be one of these pieces on each side. You'll see it has a notch. You're going to want to make sure that that notch is aimed to the inside of the blower. And it also has this metal bracket that just goes over right here. That's what pinches and holds the rubber on. And then it'll be your 3/8 bolt. So now take and get this just shoved through the hole, kind of pre-assembled. I have just a little bit of the stub poking out there. And then now when you go to put it in here, you kind of have to wedge it up between your arm here and the curb guard. So that, and just take and tap it up with your hand. Get that up into place. And now you should be able to feel on the back side, make sure that bolt's lined up with the hole. Feel it's lined up there. I've got it shoved in a little bit. If it doesn't go all the way through, you can take your impact with your 9/16 socket and run it in there a little bit. So then now you can take your nut, put that on the back side here. Once that's started, grab your wrench and the impact now. Impact on the inside here, wrench on the back side on the nut, and tighten it up. Once that's good and tight, you'll see this is just poking out a little bit. So you can just take, all it needs is just a little push with your thumb, get that lined up with the bottom rubber, and that's how you install the rubber side skirt.